Hi, Aquarius, and welcome to your December 2021 General Tarot Forecast. This is Sky coming on, to talk to you all about your month ahead. Thank you so much for being here and checking out this reading. I'm going to be talking about the intuitive messages of your month, as well as getting some tarot insights. So let's dive right into it, Aquarius. I have a lovely coffee here to do your reading with. I hope that you do have one as well, or whatever you enjoy. So we are moving into your 12th house later this month, going from 11th to 12th, getting closer to your time of the year, coming at the calendar new year in January. So there's probably a sense of needing to complete something or wishing that you were not having to finish something at the same time. So like you need to complete it, but you're kind of maybe not looking forward to what all it takes to wrap some of this stuff up. You've got the 10 of Swords, the 8 of Wands, the 5 of Cups, the 2 of Swords reversed. Basically, there's a little bit of a need for a new creative process or a new venture in your life of some kind. I'm feeling stagnation, and I'm feeling like you are doing a lot of what you're doing for the sake of continuance or for the sake of consistency, more so than because of want or desire. So I feel that December as a month for Aquarians basically presents a lovely opportunity to jump back into what you enjoy and to basically reject some of these, at this point in time, misconstrued pushes towards consistency or towards completion. So I would definitely encourage you all to find new sources of resonance and to let your solar plexus chakra be determining of that. So there could be a disconnection coming out of November with the solar plexus chakra or with your grander sense of want and desire. And instead, it's more of a cold and sterile kind of, again, consistency push that I'm feeling in your energy. So the Chariot and the Lovers have come up as your two major arcana cards, and the universe is really asking you to get on board with a new idea or with a new concept. Yet at the same time, as many of you have probably heard, I've talked a lot about the Lovers archetype coming up at the end of 2021, and how a lot of us have a tendency to stagnate at the crossroads or to prolong that deliberation process, because some of us are a little bit worried about actually committing and actually getting on certain paths that we need to be on. I think by the end of December, you're going to need to make a decision, or you're going to need to find a little bit of a newer or more fresh commitment to take on. Also, I'm sensing that you're going to have to maybe surround yourself with different types of people starting in December. And this might be stretching out. Again, this is one of the main things that I'm feeling for 2022. And we're getting so close to it. This is the last series of general readings before we are in 2022. One of the big things about 2022 is a new support network for a lot of people. And allowing yourself to be supported, or allowing yourself to be understood or perceived accurately by another person. This is a kind of a weird concept. Again, it's a bit early, but a lot of us are simply not allowing ourselves to project or present our situations in a way that is perceptible by other people. So we can come off as overwhelming to others. We can come off as overbearing or undecryptable, okay? Which in some cases can be a positive thing. I feel that many of us are trying to sacrifice our definition in order to fit in anywhere, the undefinable becoming an advantage of sorts, because that which is undefined can exist in so many spaces fearlessly. I think that you've got to develop a new layer of fearlessness, and I think that you've got to basically also understand what someone in the role that you're in has to also live up to. Like, just, it's simply that as a person in XYZ situation, I must do this. I must be understood by these types of people. I must make these types of connections, and I need maybe a better foundation to coast on. I'm sensing that some of you might be needing a new momentum generator. So the Chariot to me is about the generation of momentum. It's like a vehicle, right? So, I mean, very Obviously, this could be like a new vehicle for some of you, but it's going to be basically a new way of moving in your life. Maybe you have new commitments that are a vehicle for your trajectory. Maybe you also have a emotional purging process to experience at the beginning of December that will be a vehicle into the overcoming of the previous trauma. And then with that, there's a complete ending, to some degree, some windfall of new abundance as well, 10 of Swords and 8 of Wands, and then basically the choice of a new path or the ability to be at the crossroads. Ultimately, Aquarius, in December, I think that you are in kind of it's a weird in-between place, because I feel that you have to deal with a lot. You have to stand in the presence of a lot of different types of people or a lot of different types of jobs. And at the same time, you have to know what's coming next. You have to know what is beyond these old, and for some of you, outworn creative processes. So we have a queued update that has been queued for such a long time. We've talked a lot about this. It really needs to be installed now. We've got to bring some things up to date. We've got to get some resolution on the things that have one foot in the past and one foot in the future, right? And we've got to bring all of this together. So let's talk about your week to week briefly here, Aquarius. Week number 1, 2 of Swords reversed, rooted down by the 5 of Cups. You are really perhaps hiding your emotions in the first week of December. You don't want anyone to know that you don't like what you're doing, or you don't want anyone to know that you're feeling discomfort in a certain situation. Also, you might be having boundaries that are not in the current date either. So you might have really strict boundaries with people who are no threat to you, and you might also not be having boundaries to people that could be problematic. So think about boundaries, think about who you're emotionally honest with, okay? And in the second week, you've got the 7 of Wands reversed, rooted down by the Chariot. So it's like a lot of you might be resisting that evolution, resisting that part 2, resisting the next phase or next step of your journey. And I just kind of want you guys to think about what it would be like if your exact output right now went on for like the next 10 years. If that evokes a good feeling, congratulations, you have already done the update, basically the energetic update. If that makes you feel upset or discouraged to think of doing like exactly what you're doing right now for the next 10 years, I would recommend to understand the vehicles that are already here right now and to just basically get on those. It might be kind of undetermined at this point in time, like what the financial side of that looks like or what the practical side of some of these things look like, but that's going to come through by virtue of you coming through, okay, and following through for it. So again, 7 of Wands being about guarding, 2 of Swords and 7 of Wands both being about resisting or holding up a shield of some kind to change, to transition, which I understand it can be scary. And it's always fine, like if you really love where you're at, but if you don't, you might want to open yourself up to this vehicle. Week 3, you've got the 10 of Swords rooted down by the 8 of Wands. Okay, it doesn't have to be so hard anymore. The way that you generate your income, the way that you step into your productivity, the way that you speak about who you're becoming, it doesn't have to be so difficult anymore. It doesn't have to be so pushed. Okay, there's an ending to that pressured speaking. Like I'm speaking right now as I'm channeling this energy. It's very pressured. It's very like, having Jupiter and Saturn in your sign, you feel like, oh my God, I've got to rise to my like ultimate purpose. I've got to like zoom up into the stratosphere and take my rightful place as an Aquarius in the sort of elite energy output. And that is going to be a lot to take on, isn't it? you know? It's a lot of pressure. And a lot of you already have way better ways to get there in a more harmonious way instead of pushing so hard. Okay? And, you know, Ten of Swords. I almost said Ten of Wands, and that's what I'm feeling for you guys right now, too. Either way, there's a conclusion of previous emotional momentum, especially with Ten of Swords. I mean, of course, this can be a breakup. This can be quitting a job. This can be losing a job. This can also be the state of being extremely happy that that ended about 2 months from now. Like, you know, we get really attached to things, don't we? We get really contracted to the idea of security, continuance, and consistency. Those ideas, if you guys have seen my global dynamics video, if you guys have seen any of my eclipse videos recently, you would see that it's very hard to have these constructs rule our lives because they themselves are in a state of change. So it's hard to kind of wrap our heads around what it means for like the theme of security and consistency to be in a state of change. Isn't that a little bit of a mind-bending idea? Well, if you're pursuing that, that's how things are going to feel, because we're collectively redeciding what security, consistency, stability, and assurances, insurances, things like that, what that means. So I recommend that people really think about what they love, because by virtue of loving a field or an industry, I'm going to talk more about that type of love, not so much about relationship love here. By virtue of loving something, you can pursue mastery in it without feeling like it's wrong or without feeling like it's any type of betrayal to you. And once you achieve that mastery, even in the process of achieving that mastery, you can gain the closest thing to what we can understand as stability in the next paradigm. Okay? So I definitely recommend Aquarius before your solar return in January and February. Find out what you love. How is it made? How is it built? How is it constructed? How also are the people who are the current, known or famous people in that field, how are they perceived? Do they seem trustworthy? Do they seem integrity-based? If they don't, what is another version of it, or what can you create of it in a different way, you know? This will get you closer to stability than, for example, that degree and that company and that retirement package. I love the combination of Ten of Swords and Eight of Wands. Okay. Why I love that is because it says that there is abundance in an ending. There is abundance in finality. Right as the sun sets on something, there is an influx of energy. As that relationship ended, I had room for myself again. As I lost that job, I created my own business. As I dissolved my business, I was offered the job of my dreams. It can go any way, but what I don't encourage, Aquarius, is to cling or to grasp onto the known when it feels bad, when it's not in that area of love, when it's not in that area of abundance. And there's a difference between grasping and also retaining as we prepare. I want to talk a little bit about that before we move on to your extended reading. We'll talk more about it in your extended reading as well, but basically retaining in a state of preparation is very wise right now. So we might keep that job, or we might keep some of these older things, knowing that we move on in the future. Preparing as aptly as we can. You know, we don't always just want to quit things willy-nilly. We don't always want to just like release and not have a contingency, right? In some cases, for some Aquarius, there might not be that choice with Ten of Swords, right? Sometimes the universe calls it for us. But if we have the choice, if the universe has elected us as the choice maker in that process, we might wait a little bit longer. We might get things in order. We might make sure that we are going to be following up Ten of Swords with Eight of Wands, okay? And that we're not going to follow up Ten of Swords with Five of Pentacles, for example. So that's just some food for thought for you. Week number 4, the Page of Wands reversed, rooted down by the Lovers. So try to not let your decision-making process that's coming in be a non-creative one. Like, okay, this retirement fund is offered to me through this job, and I like that more than I like the equity in that company offered to me in that job. Like, that's a completely detached, airy kind of monotonous thinking. Can we think about the creative process within the job? Do we like either of those? Can we also think about how we have room to creatively expand ourselves based on what we choose to involve ourselves in? One of the best recommendations that I can give you, and specifically you, Aquarius, as we in 2021 and prepare to move into 2022, you want for your bottom line, okay, like what it takes for you to get by, like the amount of money it takes for you to survive each month, the amount of hours you have to work to make that money, the also the energetic cost of going through the experience itself. You want for that to be as pulled back as possible so that you have more wiggle room to do what you love. And then some of you, even by like March of 2022, or maybe even already by now, are going to just be in a complete state of devotion to that, where there is no such thing really as bottom line anymore. There's really no such thing as that in that previous context. And now already what you love is generating that. So let's talk more about that in your extended reading, Aquarius. I've so enjoyed being here with you on YouTube. If you want to get weekly bonus forecasts every Saturday, T-chats on Patreon that are only available over there, as well as this extended reading and all the other extended readings, all the other general readings ad-free, come check out Patreon. It's a great service. You can click the center of your screen now and the link in the description box, either one, to go and find that now. So I will see you all soon. Let's do that extended. Much love. Bye.